Hello everybody, my name is Frank Spevak and I'm with the Energy Conservatory. Today we're going to do a webinar on the TEC Wi-Fi Link and our updated iTEC-700 iOS app. Before we get started, I'm going to cover a little bit of housekeeping. Hopefully that you can hear me. If you're unable to hear through the speaker system of your computer, then you'll need to dial in at the number on the right-hand side and listen to the presentation over the telephone. If you have a question or a comment about this presentation, just type in your question in the message box on the side. There is one that says question, and you can determine whether you want to show that question off to the entire audience or just to me as the presenter. If the image is larger than your screen, you may have to do a little bit of scrolling back and forth or adjust your visual bar to see the information. And this session is being recorded and hopefully will be available on our website and on YouTube within a few days. So with that, we're going to go on and talk a little bit about what we have going on today. Now, this is a short webinar and we're going to be showing a couple of videos. The first is a video of how to set up the TEC Wi-Fi link with the DG700. Then we'll switch to a video where we're going to connect the Wi-Fi link to an iOS device like an iPad. And we're going to show you then how to take measurements and use the various features of the iTEC-700 app. Once we're done with the video, then we'll come back and answer some of your questions. So hopefully this will be good for you, and I'm going to switch over to the video now.
Hi, my name is Frank Spevak and I'm with the Energy Conservatory. Today we're going to give you some information about the new TEC Wi-Fi Link. The Wi-Fi Link is a wireless adapter which is added to your DG700 and DG500. The nice thing is that it adds wireless communication to nearly every gauge that we've ever produced since 2004. So this now provides you with wireless communication, a fabulous touchscreen experience through the application, and you have the most accurate digital gauge that can be used for both blower door testing and duct leakage testing. So there's no need to upgrade to a different gauge. Just add the TEC Wi-Fi link to your current testing protocol. So what we're going to do today is show you how to connect the Wi-Fi link to the DG700. We'll then power up the DG700, and then we'll switch over to the iOS app and show you how to put in all of the settings correctly and start taking a reading. Connect the Wi-Fi link to the DG700 through the serial port connection. So all I do is place it on top, turn the screws down, and make sure that I have a nice tight fit. The next step is to take the power cord, which is included with the Wi-Fi link, and connect that to the DG700. Make sure you got a nice tight connection. Now you'll notice that the blue light has come on, indicating that it now is receiving power from the DG700. The nice thing about this is that it's taking all of its power from here. You don't need an external connector for power. And you still have, on a fresh battery set with the DG700, you'll have anywhere from 19 to 28 hours of operation. Now the next step is to turn on the DG700. You'll see that the battery voltage is indicated here first. You'll see that the indicator light flashes green and then becomes solid. This indicates that now the Wi-Fi link is communicating with the DG700. Now our next step is that we're going to turn the fan speed control to just on. From here, we're going to go to the application and go through the settings.
So now that we have the DG-700 connected to the Wi-Fi link and sending out a signal, we now want to check with the iPad and iPhone if we're connected. So I'm going to click on Settings. You'll see that in the upper left-hand corner under Wi-Fi that it's already chosen DG-700, and it has a serial number of 30474. So it's easy enough to choose which network or Wi-Fi link you want to be associated with. If you had multiple gauges and multiple Wi-Fi links, you would know which one is which because the serial number will always be displayed after the gauge model number. So in this case, we only have one gauge that's hooked up, and that's what we're going to use for our test. So now I close the settings, and I'm going to start my iTEC-700 application. So the landscape of the app here is that channel A shows up on top. We have a baseline function here. I'm going to clear that. We have the ability to read pressure on channel B. We also have time average selection, so we can choose 1, 5, 10, or long term. In this case, we're just going to choose 1. We also have the ability to change our cruise target. So we can choose 75 if we were doing larger commercial buildings, 50 for homes, 25 for duct blaster testing. We have a positive pressurization at 0 and a depressurization at 0. And then we also have a custom. So if you wanted to try and do a pressure matching method to find out the flow through a dryer or through a kitchen hood, this would be a place where you might want to try that. So for right now, we're just going to choose 50 as our cruise target. Next, we have our fan speed slider. So I can move the fan speed slider, and hopefully you can hear the fan in the background. And as we move the slider back and forth, we can adjust the speed of the fan. We have our serial number of our gauge connected and showing what that is. We also are monitoring the voltage that's left in the battery. And you also see a flashing light at the bottom, and that's telling us that we have data communicating back and forth from the DG-700 through the Wi-Fi link to our iPad. Now, when I press on the small I in the lower right-hand corner, we have the ability to set up some different configurations. The first part is I can choose Configure Wi-Fi Link. And in this case, I'm using the AP or access point method, so I have it automatically set up to channel 1 as kind of our default. If there is too much traffic or other signals which might be interfering, you can adjust the channel value, and that will help you get a better signal through the Wi-Fi link. We can also choose a router method. So if we had multiple gauges with multiple fans and multiple Wi-Fi links, we could use the router method and get those to talk to a single computer. So again, right now we're using the AP method, and you'll see that we next have flow units. We have CFM, liters per second, and cubic meters per hour. Now you might have noticed that as we move from CFM to liters per second and cubic meters per hour, the area and volume values changed as we went from the inch-pound method to the metric method. So you can see that I'm going to go back to CFM. Now I have a house area right now. This is the square footage of the floor area listed as 2,500 square feet. But I can change that to a different number if I wanted to measure the area of the envelope. And this is part of our normalized flow as we get into some of these other measurements. We can also input a volume number. So if we wanted to do air changes per hour, that's going to show up here. We also have the ability to change how fast the fan speeds up and slows down. I'm just going to leave that at 1. That's a decent number to use pretty much all the time. So I'm done with that setting right now. So now I'm going to start a baseline. You'll notice that it says measuring baseline, and channel B has now gone from reading pressure to reading the number of seconds our baseline is taking. So when I'm done, I'm at 15, 16 seconds now, I'm going to press enter, and you'll see that we now have a baseline value listed for our test. Now I'm also going to change this to reading from pressure to, well, let's pick flow at 50 pascals. I can also then choose which fan I have, whether it's a Model 3 or a duct blaster or other devices that we manufacture. But right now I'm just going to pick the Model 3 fan. I'm also going to tell it I've got ring A. So now all I need to do is turn on the cruise control, and the fan will automatically adjust. So you can hear it slowly changing, and it's going to adjust so that we get our house to 50 pascals. You'll also notice that when channel A pressure was below 10, we had no reading. And as soon as we got into a bigger number and the house is starting to pressurize more, we're getting a value, a flow value. So now you see that we're increasing. Our fan speed, and we're showing value of around 1300 CFM. So as we go through this, you can see our number. If I wanted to help it a little bit, I can boost that and start reading a number up there. I can then turn the cruise control back on again to work on its own fan adjust rate. So now that I have that value, I want to display the number in a normalized flow. So I can pick air changes per hour, and I now see that my house, which had about 12 to 1300 CFM of leak, has an air change value of 2.7. That's a pretty tight house. Now I can also change this normalized flow value to something that might be a little bit more code compliant. So for example, I might want to pick flow at 50 pascals, but how much flow is that in square feet? And in this case, it's showing that I've got about half a CFM per square foot of house. Now, some jurisdictions also like to use flow at 100 square feet. Now, normally this is used when we have the area of the whole envelope. But in this case, you can see that it's 50 CFM per 100 square feet. So I'm going to stop my fan now, and we're going to go back to our regular 0 reading. And you can see how fast this responds and how easy it is to work. So what we have endeavored to do is combine a really, really good touchscreen display in the fact that we're using an iPad or an iPhone and combining it with the most accurate pressure measurement, which is the DG-700, for any blower door or duct leakage testing system out there. And we've incorporated a Wi-Fi unit that is available now and is very easy to use. So we hope that this little video has helped you understand a little bit more about what we have and what the DG-700 and the
TEC Wi-Fi Link have to offer to you, and we hope that you'll be enjoying yours very soon. So right now, that's it for our video. If you have any questions, please let us know. Give us a call. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much for your time, and hope to talk to you soon.
So now we're back to our question and answer period. We do have a couple of questions that I'd like to address that came in. The first one was whether this is available for an Android device. And we are working on that right now. We're hoping that that should be available in 2 to 3 months. Let me see if I can adjust the sound here a little bit. We're hoping that the Android version would be available in the next 2 to 3 months. The iOS version is something that we've wanted to try out first as a way to see that we can make this function with the Wi-Fi module and the DG700. So we're hoping that the Android version. We also got asked about the .NET version, and right now that the Wi-Fi module will connect using TEC, our building analysis software, as well as TEClog to do Wi-Fi connections. The ability to take a rating in TEC would allow you to be able to use a PC mechanism. Using it for TEClog is also in process, where we're going to have a Wi-Fi version of TEClog coming out very soon, in which case you would be able to run multiple gauges, multiple fans, and multiple Wi-Fi links to get the information and be able to collect that and run those as a single device. Right now, our tests have shown that we can get anywhere from 100 feet to 300 feet as far as a Wi-Fi signal distance. So depending on the building construction, as we've done our testing here in the office, we have steel studs with concrete, and we were able to get to to almost 300 feet as far as a connection and still maintain a connection throughout a test. So we think that that's really a great feature. Especially if you're trying to do things like combustion appliance zone testing, where you would want the gauge and the Wi-Fi device sitting in the combustion appliance zone area, whether it's a basement or a garage or some other place, and then be able to walk around the house, turning on fans and finding and seeing what the depressurization values come through your iPad. A couple other questions here. Can you use a program with the iPod? Yes, you can use it with the iPod, iPod Touch, iPhone, and iPad, and any versions of the iPad. The application is available from the iTunes Store, and it's a free download, so you're able to get that. Let's see, we answered the questions on multiple fans. Right now, this is a single point piece of information. We're hoping that as we can make improvements to things like TEC, that if you wanted to do a multi-point test, then you would use TEC with the Wi-Fi module and be able to control that, run a multiple series of tests, and be able to record and report that for your customer. TEC on Windows 8. TEC does work on Windows 8. We're still seeing a little bit of some bugs depending on the Wi-Fi module that might appear inside certain PCs. So we know that there are certain Wi-Fi connections which are better than others, and if you run into a problem, you can give us a call and we'll fill you in on which ones are the the best Wi-Fi devices that can be used. iPod, so what we have found is that with losing connections, there is Wi-Fi does have a problem where occasionally it will lose a connection. We have set up the iOS device along with the Wi-Fi so that during its handshaking process, as it's communicating back and forth, if there is a lag because it's missed a connection, it will continue to keep trying. And so far we have been able to go as many as 30 minutes with uninterrupted communication. You may lose a data point here or there, but the communication connection exists and is maintained the entire time. Right now this is strictly a visual program. It doesn't save anything and you can't download anything. So right now this is just a utility to be able to use the Minneapolis blower door or Minneapolis duct blaster with the Wi-Fi device and be able to read on an iPad and do a few things. One of the suggestions that we had from people was they wanted to be able to turn the blower door off while they were in the attic as they were doing an air sealing project. They wanted to be able to have the blower door running so that they could see if there was air leakage. When they found the air leakage point, they wanted to turn the blower door off, do the air sealing process, then turn the blower door back on and see what the change is that took place from the time before the air sealing and after the air sealing. So it's a real-time device right now. So the Wi-Fi link can connect to a laptop and with TEC, and you can do an 8-point test and report just as you have in any other fashion. Does this work on Mac computers? No, it does not work on Mac computers right now. We're working on a few things that hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that, but nothing for the next few months. Can you control a fan 1,000 miles away? Yes, you can. One of the things that I'd like to point out is that when your DG-700 gauge is connected to a computer, you can always see that information on the computer. What we have been able to do for quite some time now, a number of years, is actually work with our customers by using conventional internet connections like Join Me or even Google Hangouts, where we're able to work with them and take control of their computer to see what the settings are to make sure that they're working properly. So one of the things that we're able to do and have for quite some time is be able to work with a customer's computer, whether they're working on TEC or TEC-Lock, and be able to do this. So it really doesn't matter whether it's 1,000 miles away, 2 miles away, or in another country. The clear advantage is that we now have internet connections that allow us to do that, and the ability to have our gauge connected to a computer and show real-time data. That's the most important thing, and that's one of the things that we've done for quite some time. So don't let some of this thing with the 1,000-mile test fool you. It's really, that's an internet connection versus having to talk to the gauge. So since our gauge has always talked to the computer and been able to do that, we think that that's something that we're very proud of as a feature. So with that, I hope I've answered everybody's questions. It looks like, there was one other question about ELA. We have not used an ELA setting. That's kind of a data point which is a little bit different and outside of what's being used for reporting for things like building codes. Nobody's really using ELA. They want to know square foot of leakage either by square footage of the house, or will they do square foot leakage CFM per square foot of building envelope. And those are the two main things that we're looking at. So ELA is not something that we're putting in as a feature right now. Another question, what are the typical applications for using the Wi-Fi device? So one of the things that I mentioned was being able to monitor the combustion appliance zone while you turn fans on and off and find out how that is affecting the house itself. Another is to do a remote turning the fan on and off while you're doing blower door guided air sealing. The question, did I enter the floor area into the gauge? No, I didn't enter the floor area into the gauge. I entered the floor area into the iOS device. And that's where we're using all of the calculations. Let's see, I know many testers like to show the consumer how big the hole is. So again, so it is with this ELA, we're not really trying to show an ELA value. One of the things that a lot of people will do is take the CFM number and use some multiplication factors to come up with an ELA. But an ELA number, unless you've done a multi-point test, is kind of a misleading number. And it really is just an estimate. The difference on ELA can happen with if you have different size holes and where those distribution of holes exists. The floor area, please show me the device again. I missed the opening 5 minutes of the presentation. We're again, what we're doing is recording this session along with the questions, and you'll be able to see that on our the Energy Conservatory website and our YouTube channel. So that should be up very soon, usually within the next couple of days. So with that, I think we've answered all the questions. We hope this has provided you with some good information, some information about the Wi-Fi gauge and what sort of things are possible with the new Wi-Fi Link and the iOS app. We hope to be able to introduce some more things for you in the next few months. We hope you'll stay tuned and see what's happening. With that, I thank you, and we'll conclude our session today. Thank you very much.